Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, good all those things. Good day to you. Hello. I'm Matt Camp. This is the Wrestling Mat. Shout out to Todd. Happy holidays. What's going on? I didn't put those here. I literally title a show Christmas Wrestling Memories, and I don't put these up. But they're here. They're here. Here we go. Watch this Christmas spirit show. Here it is. I have no plugs nearby, but you get the gist. Happy holidays. What's going on? Welcome in to the Wrestling Mat. Almost at Christmas. For those that are celebrating, enjoying, whatever. Happy holidays. I'm wearing my LJN jacket. Remember those figures from back in the day? Maybe you got an LJN figure for Christmas one year. This is not the major wrestling figure podcast. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying. Also, Shirley Temple 7-Up, if you can find it, highly recommended. We're all over the place today. It's okay. Hello, nerdy dude. Happy holidays to you. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself out there. Hey, you know what's a great gift? And I probably should have said this like a week ago because of shipping and all that. You can go to the greatest place to get your Wrestling Mat merch. You can go to prowrestlingtees.com/thewrestlingmat and get a Wrestling Mat shirt for the holidays, perhaps, or anything. But I'm just saying, yeah. Go check it out. Maybe become a member at thewrestlingmatshow.com. As we move into the new year, we'll be shifting some things around, figuring out some schedules and such. I appreciate all the feedback on things you'd like to see and all that. Keep that coming. Nerdy Dude said, well, the Christmas lights have come quite far compared to last week, where they were just on the ground, right? They just kind of just stayed there. Now I'm wearing them. I don't have a plug nearby. Plug them in. Actually, I do. That's a lie. Should I plug these in? I'll plug them in. How is everybody doing out there? If you're not watching live, that means you're not a member, which is okay. We take any and all support here at the Wrestling Mat. You can become a member. If you're watching, just hit join down below. Go see what we have there for you. You get this show first and foremost for anything else. And in addition to that, you get discounts on the merch. If you subscribe, that's okay. Please do so on YouTube. Please do so wherever you get your podcasts. We're there too. However you want to check it out. I'm going to plug these lights in. Hold on. Let's really get into the spirit of all of this. Do they work? That's the bigger question. Do they work? And because we are lucky to be in such a glorious time of the year, the lights are working. Oh, that's a terrible shine. What is that? All right. We'll just put them. Decorating on the fly. I think I'm getting a new studio soon, so. All right. It's that too heavy. We decorated for Christmas live on the air. Oh, okay. Sorry for those on the podcast there. That did nothing for you guys. All right. So we're going to talk Christmas wrestling memories. I want to tell a story today I thought of that I think is a very innocent but funny story from a wrestling wedding, a pro wrestling wedding that I happened to be at the show for. In a working capacity. I want to talk about that. But if you got questions, throw them out there. How did you enjoy Saturday night's main event? I was happy to see Gunther win dominantly because that's how he should be presented. I liked the old music. Thought that was cool. It was good to see. It was good to see Hall of Famers like Coco Beware, who's been in the Hall of Fame for a pretty long time. I enjoyed the music. I don't think it's going to hit the same, and I don't think that matters just because of the time. And you go back to the 80s, right, for this? When Saturday night's main event, John Pollock, and if I didn't shout this out, please go check this out. John Pollock over on Post Wrestling did a great retrospective about the history of Saturday night's main event, because the last time it was around, it admittedly was not a big deal. It didn't draw great. Wrestling was nowhere near at the level where it is right now. You know, like Shawn Michaels wrestled Shane on the Saturday night's main event. But it wasn't like wrestling wasn't hot enough for the return of Saturday night's main event to matter. In the 80s, and I know some people know this, for those that don't, many of us were around as fans when you didn't have, forget, multiple company. You didn't have one company running one big show a week. I mean, it was Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Remember, we didn't get in your houses till the mid-90s. There were no in-between pay-per-views. You got a This Tuesday in Texas. You got, what else would you throw into the mix there? Well, you got Saturday night's main event. That was the thing. That was the in-between stuff that here's a big prime time special because we're not on with a major live wrestling show on prime time. We're not there yet. That doesn't happen until January of 1993. We're about to come up on the 31 years of Raw. But back then, it was a bigger deal with only 4 pay-per-views, with, yes, syndicated wrestling, on the weekends and whatever, but not a show on the level of a Raw or a SmackDown. So Saturday night's main event being on Saturday night, Dick Ebersol, massively successful sports and entertainment producer for NBC. He took on the production of it because it became a bigger deal than what they would typically present. Obviously, now that is a standard, not only in WWE, but in wrestling as a whole, big production, all that stuff. But for wrestling, and I admittedly, and I know it's because I'm going to be 40 next month, I like seeing these simple sets. I'll tell you what I was bummed about. I loved the sets. I have mine down here. I do somewhere. I love the sets with the blit. Well, it's also going to piss me off that I have to talk about the block logo. The 2 W's that never existed as a block logo. I hate that logo. Don't even use it. The block old 80s logo that's now just WW because they can't put the F on it. It looks so out of place. It sticks out like a sore thumb. I realize this pisses me off more than most people. I hate that logo with a passion. When they had the scratch logo and it had the F, and then they got rid of the F. They got the F out. That was a great campaign. But then they redid that logo, so it just had the W's. So it actually existed. It was a real thing. But the big block logo was always an F. You're rewriting history. Now you're trying to do this throwback stuff with a logo that didn't exist. Oh, God, I hate it so much. But I missed the shot when they would the entrance would be a little bit, you'd have to walk out of it and then make a left, like a quick left. Like it faced out towards the crowd. It didn't face out towards the ring. So you'd come out this way and then make the left. But they would capture that. You know, if I'm making the entrance and I'm coming out towards you, I'm going to go this way. As I was making my turn to go that way, the camera would catch me. So they would get me coming out and the turn. And for whatever reason, that shot, because they would follow the wrestler out and the wrestler would walk right towards the camera and then make that turn. So now they're following the wrestler down the ramp for just a little, and you would see the scope of the crowd. But for someone, I keep thinking of The Undertaker, but for someone like Taker, who was so big and ominous in his entrance, you could see him look above the crowd. So, of course, going to send me off on a whole tangent. I did a very COVID inspired, that's not the right way to put it, quarantine inspired amount of content during the pandemic. I've spoken about that, and go back and watch it on the WrestlingMatShow.com and our archives, all kinds of stuff about, working there during the pandemic. But there was a lot of like, hey, what can we do on Zoom? And obviously what I'm doing now is, I know a lot of people are doing this, but you go a few years back, it wasn't as easy to do this. But so Zoom, what can we make on Zoom? Well, we can make, what if we did, the Great Debate or whatever that are. So we had a Great Debate show, and I was on one of the episodes with RJ City and Denise Salcedo, and the three of us had to pick and make an argument for who had the best entrance in wrestling history. Denise picked one of the bigger Triple H entrances. I picked New Day coming out of the cereal box, and RJ picked Andre at WrestleMania 3. And I made my argument of the New Day, that entrance when they come out of the cereal box. And I had literal evidence. I said, here's a box of Bootios. It sits on this talk show set. I was on the bump set or whatever, all the time. People could go buy this cereal because they came out of a box of cereal at WrestleMania. The gear they are wearing, I had the figures in my hand. It was such a ridiculous and over-the-top entrance, but it was like, this is what New Day was able to bring to life. And I know I have a soft spot for those guys, although not so much lately. I mean, come on, what do they do? Very quick aside. I'm glad they're getting the amount of heat they're getting. It's working. I'm happy for Kofi and Woods. This is a very big jump to make. 10 years. Longest run of any faction ever, uninterrupted. And two guys, one of which I consider one of like the ultimate baby faces in pro wrestling, in Kofi Kingston. They did what they did to E, and it worked because they're getting exactly the kind of heat you'd want to get if you went down that path. People want to boo them. And once again, I go back to this. They didn't touch him. They didn't touch him. 10 years of brotherhood, traveling the world, changing a lot of things for the good. What was created in that decade and the opportunities and all of that stuff. All of the great things that came from being the New Day for 10 years. not the champion. I'm not talking about that. What they were able to make happen, especially with what that whole thing was supposed to be. And the positive changes they enacted in society, in social justice, in connecting with people, in being good people, the wonderful things Kofi did. Woods even starting up, down, down is a much bigger deal, and what that's been able to do and what he's wanted to do with that. And, E being able to speak at all of this happened because of the success they had with the New Day. They were able to have that bigger platform. All of that stuff is great. But what they ended up having to do was turn that over. They had to go, okay, if we're going to keep going, if we're going to evolve, this is the choice we are making. And for 2 weeks, it's the right choice. And I didn't doubt them. It's not about them. It's, do people actually want to boo these guys? But in the manner in which they did the turn, which was slowly over that entire segment of the anniversary, it happened, and people started to get it. And they took you on a ride. I'm coming back. I'm going to be your manager. And you could see, and then they lay into him, and they lay into him, and they lay into him. And E did this. Come on, man. What? And for those that don't see that, he wasn't on mic. They were talking. It wasn't about him. He was still reacting, but he didn't have a mic in his hand. So you can see, you can hear some of the words, but it was watching his expression. He sold what they were doing to him here. Not by getting beat up, not by talking. You could see the pain on his face. And I will say, that segment was probably a bit tough. I don't know how long they've had that in the works. It seems like it's been going on for a bit, and I had seen the rumor that it was going to be Odyssey who took East, but whatever. I'm sure there were tough conversations between those guys. I don't know who came up with the idea. I don't know if it was creative. I don't know if it was those guys themselves. And I know they're going to collaborate. It's something on this level. If it's something to this level, if it's their baby, basically, I'm sure they had plenty of and insisted on having plenty of input on how it all went down. But I'm sure the reality of it actually happening, there was a lot of real emotions in that ring. Because I always think about this, like when I watched Meechin walk out for Saturday night's main event. Watch that entrance again, and you tell me if she's coming across as someone who's going to lose. The answer is no. She came out in her school colors. She was hyped. She knew exactly what was going to happen. Her big run in this tournament, the biggest run of her career, was going to end in a loss. Chelsea Green was going to win. I am always impressed with that. And I know it's not real. But in a way, you're being told, and sometimes you can walk out there and have that expression. He goes, yeah, I know what's coming next. And maybe she does. You could also have that expression on your face of, oh, I'm losing. What's next? And that comes across. You can see that sometimes. It's called boo-boo face, as people know. If I can tell you're losing by your entrance, something didn't work there. I've always been impressed, though, by someone who's got to go out there and go, all right, here we go. This is my chance to win this championship. And it's Like, they have to sell all of that. The wrestling's the wrestling. You get in there, you're still having a match. You're trying to win. You're going to win the match. But to go out there and do the acting part of it, it's okay. This is my chance. I'm going to win the Women's United States Championship tonight. Here we go. Like, you have to go down that aisle, making those people believe that you're going to win tonight, because that's what you're showing them. You're excited for this match, knowing full well your job is to lose tonight. And that's part of the business. But you have to sell to the people that you are excited for this chance. You are excited for this match. You're going to win. Michin did that on Saturday night. Not everybody does that. You know, I said when Bryan Danielson walked down the aisle in London at Wembley, I think I tweeted or something. I said, the look on his face, I think I said the smile on his face is not a tell. Because he was fighting, obviously. And he walked out of there with the world title that night and beat Swerve in front of his family. And maybe it was a tell because of how well things went. But knowing him and knowing what he thinks about wrestling in his career, I said the smile on that face could mean he's so happy because he's going to win tonight, or he's so happy that in front of these people, this many people, at this point in his career, after he was supposed to be done multiple times, that he got to go out how he wanted. He would have had a big smile on his face if he was putting Swerve over on that night. If that was truly it, and he got to do that same match in front of his family and lose, he would have had that happiness. He would have looked around and said, man, this is how I am fully invested in this. Because he's talked about how, like, he didn't feel anything doing that second WrestleMania main event. You want to tell me a guy who's a pro? That's a hell of a match. Edge, Roman, and Bryan. It's a great match. Stack them up, all that. It's a great match. He didn't feel it, though. You wouldn't know it. That's a pro. I say all that to come back to New Day. Yes, I brought it back around. Because New Day went out there and have probably known for months this was going to, I would have to think that this first Raw of December or whatever the hell it was certain. Like, they knew this is the New Day anniversary. This is where we do it. This is where the turn happens. But when the moment happens, when Woods and Kofi have to go out there and start doing it, when E has to go out there, knowing it's going to be a breakup, knowing 10 years, far more than any other group has ever done before consecutively, but still, the consistency, the love, the brotherhood, all of that for 10 years. Even when E has been out the last couple of years, they're still doing stuff together. These guys still talk all the time, and they will still talk all the time. I'm not saying that. But they had to walk out there, and E had to get excited about being there for the 10th anniversary on camera. And he had to, I'm going to come back as your manager. Yeah. And then it all just gets worse and worse and meaner and sadder. And that was it. And I'm sure, like I said, there was a feeling of actual emotion in that, because it was ending something. It wasn't just ending a story. It wasn't just ending a wrestling faction. When you work with people that much and that often and that closely, and you do it for 10 years, and I'm sure they had squabbles or all, but certainly nothing that got out there. And if you told me they never fought, I'd believe that too. But to know that's coming to an end, it got out, I guess, or whatever, that when they broke up Judgment Day, how emotional they were. Of course. Look, just because you're in a faction or a story or whatever together, it doesn't mean you're friends or travel much, or but it's life, which is fine. But when you see the pictures off the air, and it's Finn, and it's Rhea, and it's Dom, and it's Priest, and they're hitting up a Denny's, or that's because they're rolling together. That's because they're traveling together. That's because what you're seeing on TV has been cultivated off TV because, and I've said this, they helped Dom and Finis. They were supposed to help Dom. Hey, you're going to bring him along. And they did. And even Finis said he's helped us. But that was a group. They're tight. The Priest Rhea thing is very real, and it has been for years. Finn and JD go back, and that's a whole different now group. And I don't know, I don't know if Liv, I know Liv and Raquel are cool. I don't know if that whole group travels together. And sometimes it's logistics, but there is realism to that. Some people are in teams or groups, and they're not like that. So, yeah, a big credit to them for all that and how they pulled it off. Like I said, I don't know when we see E again. And I think the reactions, you wouldn't want a tepid response. You wouldn't want cheering. You wouldn't want nothing. And you wouldn't want light boos. Or they're getting hated. And they're handling it really well. So, great job by them. Not an easy thing to execute at all. And it's only been a couple weeks. I'm not going to be the person that goes, hey, you nailed it. Because it went well. No, I'm always a wait and see. So far, so good. Nerdy dudes. Kofi and Woods doing such a great job. It is weird that they're like, well, they somewhat have a point in their promo last week. Don't blame a guy for hurting his neck. Followed up with, in my opinion, Michin had a great facial expression simply because you couldn't tell if she was winning or losing. And that, for me, speaks volumes how much of a pro Michin is. 100% agree. She's fantastic. I believe I picked that final down to the winner because I thought those two would have a great match. I thought it was a great way for Chelsea to get it back after Michin beat her in the dumpster match. I would revisit that again. I love that they told the story of that. I am super thrilled for Chelsea Green. Sent her a message. Great example, by the way. Another great example. If you want to know how much someone in wrestling is loved, watch the reactions from their peers. And I'm not talking about character. I'm talking about the people that she's worked with, worked around, traveled with. Anytime something really good or really bad, injury or something, happens to a wrestler, it's really good. They get a big championship win or whatever, a big achievement or something great in life. If someone's really that well liked, you're going to see a lot of public congratulations. Not because they have to, because you want to celebrate that with them. Celebrate your friends' wins. And if something goes really bad, I come back to, and I hate this, Bayley. Today, Bayley posted about, she always does something around the holidays. I know she's, I think, changed it up, but she tries to give back. And she does these live streams, and she gets some big people on them, wrestlers and such like that. And believe me, it's their days off. And she doesn't ask for that often. She asks for it once a year. And she's always had big people. And I just saw she's got Undertaker and Michelle McCool on. Undertaker's going to go on Instagram with Bayley to help raise awareness or money. Or please go check out her social media. She does something great every single year. But it's her. She's beloved. People like her. Pam's a great person. When she got hurt and she tore her ACL. I believe she was a heel at the time. Everybody was bummed and expressed it publicly because they like her. Across, not just in WWE, like that's one of those things. And when Chelsea won the other night, I saw a lot of that. Even the people who had to kind of tweet in kayfabe, she's a real, oh God, what's this going to, but man, I guess she deserves. There was a lot of that on Saturday. The pop was quite interesting. The pop, see, this is the game you play. And you have to navigate this delicately. When you get so good at your job that you're entertaining, people start to like you. But if they like you and you're supposed to be a heel, well, what do? Because she's just doing her job. She is mean. She's clueless at times. She's all about herself. She will tell you she's all about herself. She tries to cheat. She talks her ways into trouble. She gets beat. Like, she's doing everything you're supposed to do. But because she's so good at it, people like her. And then you have to assess that. Do we lean into this? Should she be a full-on babyface? Okay, what does that look like? Does she have to change her act up to the point that now it's not funny anymore? I think a big part of how great she is that she does do a wonderful job with egg on her face. She's willing to let people laugh at her because that's her job. It's why she's on TV all the time. Because you can put her in any spot and she will give you maximum excellent effort. You know who's doing that in AEW? Harley Cameron. Who's back on Cameo. Go check out her and Carl, because she's also a ventriloquist. But another person who I love to watch, because no matter where it is or what she's doing, she's going to make it work. She will overachieve, or she will take something that is perfectly written and make it even that much better. Those are the people you want to, like, those to me are, if you're putting a roster together, they're some of your gluiest roster members, if that makes sense. Can do anything you need, can be put anywhere on the card, no matter what. Wrestling, not wrestling, promo, you name it, appearances, singing the 12 Days of Christmas on her guitar to sell stuff. Give me those people all day long. Because those people are going to help make stars. And by doing that, they're going to make themselves stars. That's why so many people are talking about Harley Cameron. That's why so many people are excited for Chelsea Green to win. But for Chelsea, it's that line of the people like her. She's popular. She's entertaining. This is what happened to The Rock, right? The Rock got popular. The Rock became a babyface. All his insults got turned towards heels. Is that something that would work? Could Chelsea do her whole act and then turn it towards heels? Yeah. I think we've seen a couple elements of that here or there. If I remember correctly, she messed with a heel Liv. I could be off about that, or somebody. And she did stuff at NXT against Roxanne, where she was like, oh, no, people like Chelsea. So yeah. Let me read this. Nerdy said, I saw Harley Cameron's poster cameo and thought to myself, is there anything this woman can't do? She's ventriloquist. She has I saw like Renee posted with Harley about like playing with puppets. And then I didn't realize, she can do it. Like she's legit. Her mouth's not moving. Hi, I'm Carl. But like, I'm talking through my teeth right now, like that. But she's fantastic. It goes a long way. Christmas wrestling memories at minute 38 of the show. So Christmas, I'll throw it out to you guys, whether you're watching live as a member. Thank you. Become a member at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Right about that. Or leaving a comment after that. What are your Christmas wrestling memories? And I say that because tomorrow will be the last show of the year, or at least for a week or so. Probably maybe late next week. We'll see, timing-wise. Just traveling Christmas and holidays and all that. So I want to do a little Christmas stuff now. Maybe we'll do some year-end stuff tomorrow. We will do that tomorrow. We'll do some year-end stuff tomorrow. So Christmas wrestling memories, gifts you got, shows you went to. Like I remember, seeing Bret Hart and Santa at the end of Survivor Series 92 with the snow coming down. I remember Austin stunning Santa Claus. I remember getting a WWF Galoob ring. Does that sound right? I think it was. Galoob. I gave all those away. You're welcome, Marty DeRosa. But my favorite holiday-themed wrestling thing that I was not a part of, but I was at. So right after Christmas in 2019, it's the last Raw of the year. It's at the XL's. They had Raw the other day. Or SmackDown. Remember this? Was SmackDown? SmackDown was last Friday. It was in Hartford. Yeah, because then Long Island was Saturday. So it was there. And it was a Monday, so I want to say the next day we were all back in the office, back to work. So I drove up and went to the show. Terrible weather, all this stuff. And the big part of the show that night was the Bobby Lashley and Lana wedding. So I'm at the show, and anytime I had, I started there in September of 2019. So it's right around this time. It's probably a week-ish from now, 5 years ago. So I'm only in the company a couple months, and I had gone to like Raw at Nassau during the whole NXT SmackDown Raw thing. I had gone to a Raw, I want to say a couple weeks prior to this in Brooklyn. Yeah. And then they were in Hartford, right after Christmas. I don't remember. So when I would go to these shows, I wanted to shoot content. I wanted to make something. We could put it on the bump. We could put it on the bump socials, whatever. So I was with Mackenzie Mitchell, and we were asking different talent what do you have any advice for Bobby and Lana now that they're, getting married? So we talked to Truth, and we talked to John Cone, and we talked to Hurricane, and we talked to Zelina Vega. So we're bouncing around all night doing that. Now, in the meantime, the wedding, if you remember this memorable moment, the wedding was the main event segment, and the priest or deacon or whatever the heck he was looked like Bill Belichick. And I watched the rehearsal, and he was a handful. Some local actor or something like that. I don't remember. And he was... Oof. So I had watched the rehearsal of it, whatever. And, if you remember, the now Elektra Lopez was there as like Bobby's ex-wife, and that's when Liv popped out and Rusev and this was like a big deal. Remember, this was Liv's comeback, because they had they shot that Live Forever documentary. Shout out Giancarlo. and they had to keep reshooting the ending because that documentary starts with what is supposed to be her new like relaunch, and they canceled the dark match. It's supposed to be her and Ember Moon, and then they did the thing where she was like in the tub, and then like she ends up coming back as Lana's former lover or whatever the heck it was. But it was a big deal for her to come back, and she was, they were finally going to go, okay, Liv, we're with you here. You see where she is now. She's come a long way in 5 years. But this was like a lot of rehearsal, a lot of conversations, and Lana's getting done as if it's an actual wedding. And she's all, makeup, and they're getting Liv, and she had like that cut off tux or whatever it was. Excuse me. These things also make it burp a lot. And Bobby had a cut off tux, if I remember correctly. I keep knocking Vladimir over, and that's not good. Bobby had some cut off tux or whatever it was. But it was like they were trying to figure out if he should wear a bow tie or not. And if I remember correctly, it was Dana Warrior was like the member of creative attached to this one. And I remember like I was walking by and makeup was in a very open area. And I remember like everybody was kind of hanging around there because Lana was getting they were back and forth with their dress and all that stuff all the way down to the wire. And Bobby had got makeup too and whatever. So here we go. We get the wedding. The wedding starting. So I am sitting just outside of Gorilla at a monitor watching with KO, the new tag team champions, the War Raiders, and Sarah Logan. I think it was just us. Maybe Sarah Schreiber was there. I don't remember. So we're just watching this segment. Just as I'm thinking of it, Chelsea's on that Raw 5 years ago. Or was on main event. She was there. And as you remember, she didn't stick around for 5 straight years to come back to where she is now, but she was on that Raw. I remember that, or at that show. So when I watched the rehearsal, I was like, it's whatever. As we're watching this, and Kevin's like, giddy. And I'm not like, he, I think, could sense this was going to be an out-and-out disaster in the best wrestling way possible. It's going to be so bad that you'll be able to just laugh at it. And it was. And, this is my ex, and this person comes out, and this person comes out. And then at some point, when they kiss or whatever, and because Bobby had makeup on, because he's got a head, he's got a bald head. Of course, he has a head. He has a bald head, and it's shiny. You got it. I do that too. Like it's just, but he had brown makeup on. Like I have powder that looks like my skin. So she goes to and she just has brown right here and out of context. And I know people saw this, but out of context, it's a rough. And we're dying laughing watching. And Liv comes out in the cake, and Lana comes back through. Look, I obviously didn't go anywhere, and there wasn't much to it, but it was. It's one of those things. I'm glad I was there with the people I watched it with in that atmosphere, because if I had just watched it and I wasn't working there, that was a crappy segment. And I don't know how. I know it's like it's bad, and maybe people just go like, "It sucked. I'll never watch that again." But to me, it came across as one of those, I will watch that again at some point because of how spectacularly bad it was. Oh, boy. But hey, Luckily, Bobby Lashley's moved on to much better things. And Shelton Benjamin's wrestling Beast Mortos tomorrow night. So I'm excited about that also. And I will get into this tomorrow, and you'll probably hear a little bit more about it from me tonight. I had no idea. I saw it when everyone else did. Ricochet versus Will Ospreay happening again. Knowing their history, knowing what happened on the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite, that they went to the no contest because of Takeshita. Not gonna. When I saw them in the same bracket, I was like, okay, we're gonna get back to that. That's exciting. But how do you make it so that they can follow up what I called, you'll hear it, a history altering rivalry, because that's what it is. They did change a lot. So how do you make this latest chapter bigger, mean more? And then I saw the tweet from Tony, and I went, oh my God, it's perfect. Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Hammerstein Ballroom on Saturday night. My first thought, I went, oh, this is their chance to be RVD and Jerry Lynn. Like, they get to go wrestle in a place like that. They wrestled on TV. They wrestled in Japan multiple times. They wrestled in the UK. I think they did it for whatever the hell it was called. What Culture? Now they get to do it at Hammerstein. I saw Will Ospreay wrestle Jay White when Jay was on excursion at Hammerstein. I still think it's one of the best matches I've ever seen live. Pre-Switchblade. I mean, Jay's wearing green and white. He's skinnier. He doesn't have the... It's damn good. But then I looked it up and confirmed it's big enough that Ricochet and Will Ospreay are wrestling at Hammerstein Ballroom this weekend. It is Ricochet's Hammerstein Ballroom debut. He didn't wrestle in the Manhattan Center. He's never wrestled at the same building at the Hammerstein Ballroom. So Ricochet is making his Hammerstein debut on Saturday against Will Ospreay. Let's fucking go. A lot of good stuff this weekend coming up. Oh, the C2 is beautiful. Stay tuned for more. My wrestling holiday tradition is to watch all of Santa's Little Helpers matches. They might not be long, but they are entertaining. All right, nerdy dude. I don't think they do those anymore because they're not really PC. That's pretty much it for today. So share your Christmas wrestling memories in the comments below, or tweet us at WrestlingMatt23, Twitter, Instagram, the Matt Camp on Twitter and Instagram. I'm also over on Blue Sky, as Nerdy Dude knows. Just search the Matt Camp over there. And we'll be back tomorrow, do some year-end stuff, and whatever you guys would like to get into, because I think it'll be the last one of the year. So, as always, I'll be back tomorrow to talk about wrestling even more right here on the Wrestling Mat.